I was adjusting Tyler's boutonniere one last time before he walked down the aisle. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, but from 32 years of love bursting out of my chest. "You look perfect, sweetheart," I whispered, smoothing his lapel. He grabbed my hands and squeezed them tight. "Mom, I know I don't say it enough, but thank you. For everything. For choosing me when no one else would. For never giving up on me. I love you so much." Tears filled my eyes as I kissed his forehead. "You're my greatest achievement, Tyler. My whole world." I watched him walk down the aisle with such pride. This was the moment I had dreamed of for 32 years. My son, my miracle baby, was getting married. I thought nothing could ruin this perfect day. I was wrong. 20 minutes later, I was standing by the dessert table when I heard my new daughter-in-law whisper to her sister behind the rose arch. "Don't worry, we'll dump the old bat in Sunset Manor next month and take the beach house. Tyler's too weak to stop us." The champagne glass almost slipped from my fingers. I stood there frozen, listening to this woman I had just welcomed into our family plan my imprisonment and the theft of everything I owned. The same woman who had smiled at me during the ceremony. The same woman who had hugged me and called me Mom just hours before. If you want to hear how I turned Jessica's greed into her worst nightmare, make sure you subscribe, because this story gets so much better. And let me ask you this. What would you have done if you overheard your daughter-in-law planning to put you in a nursing home? Let me know in the comments below. But first, let me tell you how this all started. 32 years ago, with a phone call that changed my life forever. I'm Mary, I'm 73, let me take you back 32 years. I was 28 when I got the call that would change everything. I was working as a social worker for Los Angeles County Child Services, handling the most heartbreaking cases, kids abandoned, abused, lost in a system that was overwhelmed and underfunded. The call came in at 3 a.m. "Mary, we need you at City General. Emergency case. Infant, 3 months old, mother overdosed. No family has come forward." I'd been working hard for weeks, living off coffee and determination. But something about this case pulled at me. When I walked into that NICU and saw Tyler fighting for his life, tubes and wires everywhere, I knew I was looking at my future. This tiny baby, no bigger than a loaf of bread, was battling for every breath. The nurses told me he'd been alone for hours before someone found him next to his mother's body. I spent 3 months visiting him every day after my shifts. I would sit by his incubator, talking to him, reading to him, coordinating his care. I searched everywhere for a family that didn't exist. His mother was 19, no father listed on the birth certificate, no grandparents who wanted him. When social services said he needed a permanent placement, I didn't hesitate. "I'll take him," I said. Just like that. 3 words that changed my entire life. The adoption wasn't easy. As a social worker, I knew the system inside and out, but being single made everything complicated. I had to prove I could provide a government salary. Social workers didn't make much money, and everyone questioned whether I could handle raising a child alone. I worked my regular 40 hours, then took on weekend emergency calls and evening home visits. I was exhausted constantly, but I had a purpose now. Every extra dollar went to Tyler's needs, his physical therapy, because he'd been born premature, his special formula, his daycare while I worked. I didn't buy new clothes for myself for 3 years. I drove the same beat-up Honda for a decade. Tyler came first, always. When Tyler turned 16, my father died and left me his beach house in Malibu. It was falling apart. The roof leaked, the plumbing was ancient, and the deck was rotting. But it was mine. And more importantly, it could be ours. I spent 5 years renovating that house myself. I learned carpentry from YouTube videos, painted every room after my shifts at work, installed fixtures during weekends. My hands were constantly cut up from splinters, and paint under my fingernails became permanent. Tyler helped sometimes, but mostly he was busy being a teenager, playing soccer, studying for SATs, being normal. That was exactly what I wanted for him. That house became our sanctuary. Every summer, every holiday, just Tyler and me making memories. We'd barbecue on the deck I rebuilt with my own hands. We watched sunsets from the living room windows I'd installed. Tyler would bring friends over, and I'd cook for everyone. Loving the sound of laughter filling rooms I restored board by board. I remember the night before his high school graduation. We sat on that deck watching the sunset. Tyler turned to me and said, "Mom, I don't know how you did it, saving kids all day, then coming home to save me too. When I have kids someday, I want to love them the way you love me." I thought that night that I'd done everything right. That all the sacrifice, the sleepless nights, the second jobs, the bleeding hands from construction work, the years of putting his needs before mine, had been worth it. I thought I raised a son who understood love, loyalty, and gratitude. I was so proud of the man he became. Tyler was kind, smart, and hardworking. He'd gotten into UCLA on academic scholarships I'd helped him apply for. He was studying to become a teacher because he wanted to help kids like I helped him. But then he met Jessica, and everything I'd built started to crumble. Tyler met Jessica during his senior year at UCLA. She wasn't what I expected. Jessica came from nothing, grew up in Bakersfield. Her mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. Her father left when she was 12. She clawed her way to UCLA on scholarships and student loans. I admired her determination at first. Here was a girl who understood struggle, who fought for everything she had. I thought, finally, someone who gets it. I was so wrong. Something hardened in Jessica during those years of poverty. She wasn't grateful for what she earned, she was angry about what she'd been denied. She looked at Tyler's comfortable childhood, and instead of seeing love, she saw unfairness. Why should he have had stability when she had chaos? The comments started small, but were laced with resentment. "It must be nice to have someone take care of everything for you, Tyler. Some of us had to figure it out alone." "Your mom really babied you, didn't she? That's why you're so naive about how the world really works. Social workers make decent money. I bet Mary could have helped my family too, if she'd cared about kids who weren't perfect adoption stories." That one cut deep. Tyler started calling less. Our Sunday dinners became monthly, then holidays only. When I visit, Jessica would make pointed comments about everything. "This must have cost a fortune. My mom would never spend money on something so impractical." She'd rearrange things I'd given them, donate clothes I bought Tyler, replace photos of our family trips with pictures of her and Tyler alone. She was erasing me systematically. The worst part was watching Tyler change. Jessica convinced him that my love was excessive, unhealthy. That I'd sheltered him from real life, while she'd been forced to grow up fast. When I'd bring up memories of our beach house trips, he cuts me off. "Mom, you need to stop living in the past. Some of us have real problems to deal with." Real problems? I raised him from a dying infant, worked 3 jobs, rebuilt a house with my bare hands. But according to Jessica, none of that was real. Last Christmas, I overheard her on the phone. "Don't worry. Once we're married, I'll finally get what I deserve. Tyler's too guilty about his perfect childhood to see what's really happening. His mom thinks she's so noble, but she's just been hoarding resources while people like us struggled. It's time for some payback." Hoarding resources. That's what she called 32 years of love and sacrifice. I should have confronted her then. But I was afraid Tyler would choose her over me. By the time they got engaged, Tyler barely looked at me when he announced it. Jessica beamed beside him, already calculating what she thought would soon be hers. The wedding was small but elegant. Jessica insisted on keeping costs down, though I later realized she was calculating every expense as money that could be hers later. I paid for the photography and the flowers because Tyler was drowning in student loans, but Jessica made sure I understood it was charity, not celebration. Her tired-looking mother, her clinging mother who cleaned office buildings at night, her younger brother who worked construction. They were good people, but Jessica had told them stories about me. They looked at me with curiosity and resentment, like I was the symbol of everything they'd been denied. During the reception, I tried to connect with Jessica's mother, Linda. "Your daughter is remarkable," I told her. You should be so proud of how far she's come. Linda's smile was tight. Yes, well, some kids get all the help they need, and some kids have to fight for everything. I felt like I was attending my own funeral. Jessica painted me as the privileged woman who swooped in to save one perfect child while ignoring all the others. If you're wondering how this story ends, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because what I heard next changed everything. I was standing by the dessert table when I heard Jessica's voice carry from behind the flower wall. She was talking to her sister Brandy, their heads bent together conspiratorially. Brandy, I'm telling you, it's foolproof. We tell Tyler his mom is getting confused, maybe starting with dementia. He's so guilty about having it easy while we struggled, he'll believe anything. Once she's locked up in Sunset Manor, we file papers to take over her finances. The beach house alone is worth $2 million, plus whatever else she's hiding. My blood ran cold. Brandy laughed bitterly. What if Tyler fights you on it? Tyler does whatever I tell him. I've spent 3 years convincing him that his perfect childhood was actually trauma. By the time he realizes what happened, we'll own everything, and his precious mommy will be someone else's problem. She owes me this, Brandy. The champagne glass slipped from my fingers and shattered. I was staring at my son, dancing with this monster, completely unaware that his wife was planning to imprison the woman who had raised him. Jessica had been playing a long game. Every comment about my excessive love, every suggestion that I was holding Tyler back, it had all been set up for this moment. But Jessica made one crucial mistake that night. She assumed she knew everything about Mary the social worker. She had no idea what I was really capable of, or what I was really worth. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my kitchen until sunrise, making lists, checking documents, and calling people. Jessica made one crucial mistake. She assumed I was just a social worker who'd gotten lucky with an inheritance. She never wondered how a government employee had managed to provide Tyler with such a comfortable life. What Jessica didn't know was that over 40 years in social work, I helped hundreds of families, including some very wealthy ones. When you save someone's child, gratitude runs deep. 5 years ago, Mrs. Eleanor Rothschild, whose grandson I rescued from an abusive foster situation, left me her entire stock portfolio when she passed. That portfolio was worth $2.8 million. Then there was Mr. Samuel, a wealthy businessman whose daughter I helped place in a safe home after his ex-wife's addiction spiraled. When he died, he left me 3 rental properties. You gave me my daughter back. His will read. This is nothing compared to that gift. And Mrs. Rodriguez, whose twin boys I helped her adopt, left me a trust fund worth another $1 million. For the woman who made our family possible. But more importantly, Jessica didn't know that the house Tyler thought he owned, the beautiful Craftsman in Beverly Hills where they lived, was actually mine. I bought it as his graduation gift, but kept it in my name for tax purposes. Tyler signed papers he never read, trusting me completely. I wanted to surprise him with the deed as a wedding gift, but Jessica's words changed everything. Monday morning, I called my lawyer Margaret Stone. Margaret, I need to make some changes, big ones. Then I called my financial advisor David Park, and finally, realtor Susan Wright. 3 phone calls that would change everything. Jessica wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that you don't mess with a woman who spent 40 years outsmarting the system. The beach house sold in 48 hours. Cash offer, $2.3 million. I accepted immediately. Next, I called the property management company. I want to sell all 3 rental houses. Price them to move fast. The Santa Monica property sold in 3 days. The Pasadena duplex had multiple offers within a week. The Manhattan beach house was under contract before the weekend. Then came the hardest call. I phoned the mortgage company for Tyler's house. I want to sell 1247 Maple Street. Yes, I'm the legal owner. The current occupants need to vacate. The woman was confused. Ma'am, the residents have been making payments. The payments come from my account automatically. I own the house. I want it sold. Tyler called that afternoon panicked. Mom, there's been some mistake. The bank says you're selling our house. Jessica's freaking out, talking about calling the police. No fraud, sweetheart. Just business. I own that house, I'm selling it. You have 30 days to find new arrangements. But Mom, we can't afford rent anywhere else. I'm still paying off school loans. Jessica just started her new job. Jessica should have thought about that before planning to put me in a nursing home. Silence stretched for a full minute. What are you talking about? Tyler, I heard everything at your wedding. Every word. Your wife has very interesting plans for my future. They showed up at my door the next evening. Jessica had been crying. Her makeup was smeared, her hair was a mess. Tyler looked like he hadn't slept. Behind them, I could see Jessica's mother Linda getting out of an old Toyota, her face set in hard lines. Mom, please, there's been a misunderstanding. Jessica never said anything about a nursing home. Maybe you misunderstood what you heard. Jessica stepped forward, and for a moment, I saw past the tears to the calculation underneath. Mary, I think you might be having some memory issues. My grandmother had dementia. I know the signs. Maybe we should have you evaluated by a professional. Linda stepped up beside her daughter. Mrs. Mary, Jessica's been nothing but respectful to you. Maybe you're feeling threatened because Tyler has someone else in his life now. My daughter worked 3 jobs to get through college while your son had everything handed to him. Maybe it's time you step back. Stop. My voice cut through their coordinated attack. Jessica, Linda, I'm a licensed clinical social worker with 45 years of experience. I know manipulation when I see it, and I know exactly what this is. Tyler stepped between us. Mom, even if Jessica said something you didn't like, she's family now. We can work this out. You know what her family went through? Can't you understand why she might feel resentful sometimes? Resentful? I pulled out my phone and played the recording I made at the wedding. I held it near the flower wall after I heard her voice, and every word was crystal clear. Tyler's face went white as Jessica's voice filled my living room, talking about how I owed them, how my love for him had somehow been stolen from families like hers. When it finished, the silence was deafening. Tyler, Jessica started, her voice shaking now. I was just angry. I didn't mean. Get out. Tyler's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of 32 years of trust shattering. All of you, get out of my mother's house, now. Jessica's composure finally cracked completely. You're gonna choose her over me? Your wife? Tyler, she had everything while my family had nothing. She owes us this. I said get out. Tyler's voice exploded through the room. Before I call the police myself. After they left, Jessica screaming about fairness, and Linda shouting about rich people taking advantage of the poor, Tyler collapsed onto my couch. His hands were shaking, his breathing shallow. Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. But I understand why she's angry. We did have it easier than her family. I sat beside him, this man I raised from a dying infant to a successful adult. Tyler, there's something you need to understand about Jessica's story. And something you need to know about your own. I handed him the adoption papers, the hospital records, the documentation I kept for 32 years. Your birth mother didn't abandon you, sweetheart. She died from an overdose when you were 3 months old. You were in the hospital for weeks, fighting for your life. No family ever came forward. Social services was going to place you in the system. I chose you, Tyler. But you weren't born into privilege. You were born into the same kind of struggle Jessica was. Tyler read through the papers, tears streaming down his face. I came from nothing too? Worse than nothing. You came from tragedy. But here's the difference, Tyler. When I saw a child in need, I didn't ask what I deserved or what was fair. I asked what you needed. Jessica looked at our family and saw theft instead of love. She believed that your happiness somehow caused her pain, that my choice to help you meant I owed her something too. I handed him another set of documents. I'm moving to a small condo near the county office where I still volunteer. I'm keeping enough money to live comfortably. The rest, about $3 million, is going into a trust fund for you. But there are conditions. What conditions? You get counseling. You learn that love isn't a zero-sum game. Me caring for you didn't take anything away from Jessica's family, and you never, ever let anyone convince you that you don't deserve the good things in your life, just because others have suffered too. He was quiet for a long time. Finally, he looked up at me. Mom, Jessica was wrong, wasn't she? You didn't owe her anything. No, sweetheart. Kindness isn't a debt, love isn't theft, and your happiness never caused anyone else's pain. It's been a year since Tyler's wedding day. He divorced Jessica 6 months ago when he found out she'd been planning to leave him anyway, once she got control of what she thought was his inheritance. She already was seeing someone else, her supervisor at the marketing firm who promised to help advance her career. Tyler lives in a small apartment now in Silver Lake, working as a high school history teacher, going to therapy twice a week with Dr. Sarah Collins. He's learning that survival isn't a competition, that someone else's struggle doesn't diminish his own worth. We have dinner every Sunday, just like we used to. He's dating someone new, a kindergarten teacher named Amy Rodriguez, who also grew up in the system. She understands that love is a choice, not an accident of birth. Last month, she helped me organize a fundraiser for the children's shelter where I still volunteer. She stayed until midnight, folding programs and arranging silent auction items, and never once suggested she deserved credit for anything. Jessica? Last I heard, she was back in Bakersfield, working at a call center. The supervisor had been using her, promising advancement that never came. She tried to contest the house sale, but her lawyer told her she had no case. She also started a social media campaign about generational wealth inequality, but it backfired when people realized she was the one who'd been caught planning elder abuse. The video Tyler posted explaining what really happened went viral, but not in the way she'd hoped. I live in a beautiful 2-bedroom condo now, 10 minutes from the county office. I volunteer with new social workers, helping them understand that saving one child doesn't mean failing all the others. Last month, I helped place a little girl whose circumstances were almost identical to Tyler's. Her new mother asked me the same question Jessica had implied. Why this child? Why not all the others who need help too? I told her what I wish I told Jessica. Because this is the child in front of you. This is the child you can save today. And choosing to help her doesn't make you responsible for every child you can't help. If this story taught you something about family, love, or standing up for yourself, please hit that subscribe button. I have so many more stories to share. And tell me in the comments, do you think I was too harsh on Jessica? Or did she get exactly what she deserved? Sometimes people ask if I regret being so harsh with Jessica, if I should have tried to understand her anger better. But here's what I've learned in 73 years. Understanding someone's pain doesn't mean accepting their cruelty. Jessica's childhood was hard, but that didn't give her the right to destroy mine. Tyler calls me every morning now just to hear my voice. Yesterday he told me about one of his students, a kid from foster care who reminds him of himself. Mom, he said, I want to help him, not because I owe him anything but because I can. Is that okay? I smiled and told him it was more than okay. It was perfect. I spent 32 years teaching my son that love isn't about what you deserve, it's about what you choose to give. Some people never learn that lesson, no matter how much they take. If you enjoyed this story, like, subscribe, and share with others so they can learn too. See you in our next video.